Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the next episode. I really wouldn't say it would be episodes, but welcome back to the channel. I'm not really sure what to say here other than welcome to the next video. Like I promised in the previous video, was gonna tell you guys a little bit about me, a little bit about myself, what got me into Kemetic orthodoxy, and why I left the Christian faith. This is mostly so that you guys can get a better feel for who I am, for what I am trying to promote on this channel, and all that I am trying to do. With all that being said, let's get into it. Now, my whole life, I was a very staunch Christian. I grew up in a very Christian household, and I grew up in a very Christian rural area, but my family was not the typical Christian family, the ones that are homophobic and are protesting against gay marriage, or the completely terrible, staunch Christians that look to just destroy the world. Oh, sorry, you're gonna have me yawning a lot. My family, while being a bit homophobic, they did start to ease up to that when I came out as gay. I lived with my grandma, and I confessed to her when I was a junior that I was gay, and she she wasn't accepting of it at first, but around senior year and then on, she was really more adapting to it because she told me that all she cares about is her love for me, and she doesn't, want sexuality to stand between that. She says she understands it, and she cares about is that it makes me happy. So there's a bit more to that, but I'm not going to go into too many massively important or personal details. Take a shot for every time I yawn. You'll get drunk because you're gonna have that a lot. I don't know why I'm so tired. I don't really feel tired, but I'm just yawning a lot. That being said, I was very Christian growing up, and I was homophobic for a while until I started becoming more comfortable with my own sexuality. Then I wasn't homophobic anymore. Around my senior year was kind of when my faith was wavering in Christianity, but it wasn't like some people. When I say wavering, when some people think wavering, it means leaving Christianity altogether. It was more of viewing the religion in a much different concept or a much different light, kind of leaning towards being a progressive Christian. More than the Christian that I was at that time. Now, my whole family was non-denominational. There was no branch of Christianity or denomination they associated with. That's what I was raised with. So with non-denominational Christians, it's kind of just whatever you interpret, and you kind of make your own decisions on Christianity. I think it was also goes by Orthodox Christian, but not denominated Christian. I'm not too sure. But once again, I was raised, I never had any problems with Christianity until I went to church for the first time in years. It was all because there was this thing called Blitz that was going on around my area, and I wanted to participate. And as I went to participate in Blitz, it was really fun. There was a lot of nice guys and a lot of nice just people, I would say. I'm using guys in more of a sense of people, but since I'm gay, that can imply a lot of things. A lot of nice people were at this event, and I really enjoyed it until we got to the messages about just after Blitz, after all the games and stuff, they would have us go into a little section, and the pastor would start preaching things and stuff. And I liked all the fun stuff, but when you got down to the pastor starting to preach, that's when everything became less fun. And this was because I wasn't agreeing with what they were preaching. They were essentially in a room full of very influenceable kids, and they were in a room preaching that if they don't give their life to Christ right now, they will die and go to hell. Now this was a Baptist church, and to these there was a bunch of younger kids here. There was some people my age. It was like maybe two people my age, and there was a bunch of people much younger than me. And they're basically just telling them that if they die tomorrow and they don't accept Jesus, they will burn in hell. And I didn't agree with this. And in fact, I didn't agree with it so much, I told the pastor, I said, I don't agree with what you're preaching. I said, there's no way that this is exactly what Jesus would promote. And I tell you, the look on that pastor's face was like he didn't know what to say. And I remember telling the leader of the Blitz that I didn't want to come to the church section. I just wanted to participate in the events, and they wouldn't let me do that. They were like, no, you come, you need to ask the questions. Oh my word, it was just a very frustrating time, and the last thing I remember was the head of the Blitz team was sitting there at the front of the, like, in front of all of the kids, standing right next to the pastor, and he literally said, he goes, my grandfather was a Catholic Jew, or I don't know the exact term of what his grandfather was, but they were a branch that didn't accept Jesus as the Lord and Savior, or they not as the Lord and Savior, as the Son of God or something, but believed in God. And he says, my grandfather was a Catholic Jew, and we were trying everything we could to convince him to come to Jesus, to believe in Jesus before he died, and he just wouldn't. He was too stubborn. And as far as we know, he is currently burning in hell. And I'm like, oh my God, you did not just say that to a bunch of children. And I flat out, I remember after that, that was when I told off the pastor, and I said, what you're preaching is complete bullshit. And I mean, he didn't like that. Well, I don't know if he liked it or not. He didn't know how to reply to that comment. And that was when I essentially decided that I wasn't, not that I wasn't going to be Christian, but I was not associating with this denomination. And that was also when I started taking a stand against the churches, and was kind of starting to stand against what churches were teaching their people. And that was really when, like, I got real big into Christianity, and I was really speaking out against the churches and pastors. And I mean, it's pretty much no different than how I am now, except I am speaking out against churches in a sense that the God they worship is not who they think they're worshiping. So, but that's a little bit about my history with Christianity. Another question you might have is, when did I leave, and why did I leave the faith? And I'm a little different from how most people have left the Christian faith. I didn't leave Christianity hating God or even hating Jesus. I thought that there was something up with God, and I kind of didn't trust him, because I did believe that other gods existed. And deep into my heart, I remember this day very exactly, because I was sitting in a how do you put it? I was sitting in a lunchroom, because I worked at a college, and I worked in the night. I was a janitor, and I was sitting in the cafeteria sweeping the floor, and I just started thinking about the religion, and then realized that I don't think Christianity holds the truth. And I don't like the fact that the religion keeps telling me that I have to believe it holds the truth. And then I started thinking that, okay, then I guess that means this is not where my faith lies. And also, deep in my heart, I never resided with Jesus or God. They were just not deities or beings that I felt a relationship with, or even a close one. And I want some of these people who are going to sit there and say, well, we all lose our faith or we all start to have our faith waver. You should have tried coming back instead of leaving. I was praying every day. And I wasn't just a Christian that just exists. No, I was standing up against churches. And I was an adamant person who was trying to persuade people to believe that God was not this terrible, evil being. And that there was much more than meets the eye. And that God was an accepting and loving being. And I was still doing this forever. I stopped doing it around I think it was January. That's when I stopped standing up for this, because that was when my faith started wavering. It was just that kind of moment where you realize that what you're fighting for isn't exactly what you think you're fighting for. And I never left it. Even as I did leave, I still was praying to God and Jesus every night. Every night I was praying. Even though I wasn't in the religion anymore, I still believed that there was more to this religion than meets the eye. And lo and behold, eventually, when I got into a really bad mental state, that was eventually when Anubis reached out to me. And ever since then, we started working together. And I will definitely do a video on my experience with Anubis, how I met Anubis, and how our relationship formed and all of that. I'll even do a video on when me and him got God spoused, so people can understand that part of me as well. Because he is a part of me in most senses as well. Also, take a shot for every time I say as well, because you're also going to hear that a lot. So that's a bit about me and my introduction to Anubis and my leaving the Christian faith. If you asked me now, is there anything that could be said for me to come back? I'd say no. Much like I used to promote about seeing Christianity for more than just the black and white view that it is, I have seen Christianity for the non-black and white view that it is, and I have seen that it is not the religion I thought it was, and that it is a much more deep, dark religion that is trying to mask itself as something beautiful, when it is the opposite of that. In my YouTube channel, you'll see what I'm talking about, as I will try to make those things known so that you guys may understand where I'm coming from on this and my perspection and interpretation of these things are, which those will all be later videos down the line. Now, someone is also going to ask, what was my introduction to Kemetic Orthodoxy? Was it getting to know Anubis? I originally was pagan, but kind of didn't like the pagan community or the witch community, because it wasn't really any different than the Christian community. There's just a bunch of people always fighting for their interpretations being right. When I was part of the Kemetic paganism, it was terrible. It sucked, because I believed that Anubis was the son of Ra, because that's just what I felt. And I was apparently attacked. Well, not apparently, I was attacked by a lot of people in the community, stating that that is the incorrect interpretation. But the Egyptian mythology is a very, very confusing mythology because of the abundant amount of interpretations there are. So I just kind of said, I don't want to be associated with these people. Because even some of the YouTubers that I was really watching to just get into Kemetic Orthodoxy and Kemetic Pagan and getting to know Anubis, even they were no different than exactly what I stood against Christians for, which is this forcing a belief system down someone's throat. And just because you slap a new term called paganism on it doesn't mean that the actions aren't the same from what the Christians do. And I was like, no, this is just not for me. And I think there was something else that was just in the religion itself that I just didn't really click with. And then I switched over to Kemetic Orthodoxy because I believed a bit differently in the Kemetic religion, or I just kind of believed differently. There's no really denominations of Kemeticism, not that I'm aware of. So to be part of Kemetic Orthodoxy, it's basically just following the I forgot what it was. That following the rules of Amat. Even then, I kind of waver with that. I don't really think I have a way to define my belief system other than it's just what I believe in. I do work with a lot of Egyptian gods, but I do also work with other gods as well. Um, Lucifer and Medusa can be kind of two of them. Please don't come into my comment section telling me Medusa's not actually a goddess. I understand what the mythology says. I understand the 2 different mythologies and the 3 different translations. I understand I don't need to be corrected 500 times for a different interpretation. So I don't really have a way to define my belief system other than this is just what I believe. And my belief system is still very up for objection or other people's beliefs being added to it. I keep it very open because I want to understand the truth, and I feel like binding myself to one belief system or one religion is not the way to understanding the universe or even understanding the truth behind everything. So that's kind of where my religious standpoint is right now. I don't really have a direct definition. I guess if I had to call it anything, I would just call it Phoenixism, because I mean, it's not really. I mean, can't really name it. You don't really put a name to something that I guess doesn't have a term, but regardless, that is kind of my current religious belief. I still call myself more of a Kemetic monk because I do kind of follow a lot of the teachings of Amat, and a lot of the gods I worship were the Egyptian ones, so I still kind of consider myself Kemetic orthodoxy, though I don't really believe everything that the Egyptian Book of the Dead says, because I believe that the gods might have changed some of the ways that they act, because the divine can change unless it is Yahweh, and Yahweh doesn't want to change. But digressing on that, that is a bit about me. I've told you guys before the gods I work with. Haven't really worked with Lucifer too much, but I know he's been poking around. So yeah, the next video I will try to do a video that discusses how I met Anubis and how I got introduced to maybe some other gods. I'll even do a video on how me and Anubis got God-spoused and what it was like. So stick around for that, but other than that, make sure you like, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys in the next video. Say ciao, Anubis. Well, you guys can't hear him, but I believe he waved goodbye, because Anubis doesn't talk.